Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And maybe we need to have a little. Matter of fact, I was just thinking about this. This just popped into my head. My massage therapist, which I always feel like when you say massage therapist, like who are you? I'm getting a massage, you know, snooty. Yeah, it's a medical massage, folks. Believe me, it ain't nothing relaxing about it. Uh, but she said that I should get one of those standing sitting chairs. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It sounds more like just a pole you lean against than anything
Huh.
else. So
Stand
something to
and
think
sit in
about.
chairs, you're saying.
Yeah.
This is truly the peak of human technology. We're there. We are
There,
there.
there we go, man. Uh, my good buddy Sifu Rafael is joining us today, and no standing sitting chairs required for him. How you doing today, brother?
Exceptional, my friend. Getting better every day. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just hey, man, that 1% increase, or even a point 0.5, man, I'd take a point 0.5 increase
Any day.
every day. Think about think about the compounding factors that goes into. Uh, Man, we'll have to ask Camden to do the math for us on that because I'm not even going to try on
It's
what
a,
the improvement would be like.
it's a big number. I'll give you that
It goes up. It definitely
It
goes
does.
up. So speaking of that, then I think that's a great place to start. What do you do to improve yourself every day?
Wow. Every day. I'm just fortunate to be alive. I got to be honest with you. I start my days with
Hmm.
gratitude. So this year I said I was going to do 500 push-ups every day. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I'm at 600. 500 became too small.
Smart
500
ass.
became too small. So I'm doing 600 push-ups every day. Some days I'll do 700, but every single day from January 1st till now, I have not stopped. So if I had done what I said I was going to do, I would have done 100, because it's a leap year, I would have done 183,000 push-ups. But now I'm figuring it's going to be over 215,000 push-ups by the end of the year. And I'm one of those guys that I don't give up. And I always challenge myself, because when I was doing 500, I was like, after 20 days, I was like, this is not enough. I got to do more. So every day I challenge myself to be better. I need to be better than I was yesterday. If not, then I can't say what I say, that I'm getting better every day, right?
How do you find those ways to improve? I mean, I love that you start off with push-ups because I feel like every time we talk self-improvement, it's the easiest area to start in. It's like the workouts, because it's like, we'll do a mile, then you do a mile and a half, then you do 2 miles, then we get up to the 5K, and you just keep going from there. How do you find those ways to improve in areas of your life that aren't as linear?
When you consider, and we talked earlier about fear, most people don't improve because they allow fear to stand in their way. I'm one of those guys that I don't fear anything, because guess what? If it's my turn, it's my turn. But I'm not going to let anything or anyone stand in my way. Believe me, I'm not going to do dumb things, but I'm going to, if there's a challenge coming up, I'm going to jump on it, as long as it's a healthy challenge, nothing that I'm going to hurt someone in the process. Because, my purpose in this world is to help people, not to hurt them. So if I'm doing something to promote myself and I'm hurting someone else in the process, then that's not my game. So every day, I always look at possibilities. I'm one of those SEO guys, right? And what does that stand for anyway? Search engine optimization. It's a different meaning for me. SEO means search every opportunity. And I do that every day. When I talk to people, I'm looking at opportunities. How can I help you? And by me helping you, I know you're going to come back at me and you're going to go, hey, I want to do this for you. And it happens all the time. I never look to help someone with my hand out. And if I help someone and they never ever come back, I'm okay. They needed me to help them at that point. I was put in their path for a reason.
All right. Well, I'm sitting there laughing because I know why people call you Sifu, and that's because you get out in the dojo, and that's why I'm laughing. I'm like, really, your purpose is not to hurt people? Wow. I know that if we were to step into the dojo together, you might teach me a lesson or two that I might feel a little bit, you know?
Well, feelings are,
Talk to
things
us
that we
about
all
that.
need to have. When you consider, right,
Yeah.
you just said something. If we get on the floor, right, and so for me, it's not about me showing you my prowess. It's not about me showing who's the man, right? Those are some martial arts instructors out there who do that. They believe that, like, I got to show you who the man is. No, you're the man. I'm going to show you how to be the man. And that's what, when you look at a great instructor, anyone, go back into history, anyone who's ever been great, it's because of the people that helped them get there. And I want to be that person for other people. I want to be the one that they stand on my shoulders to help them up. So if we get on the floor, I mean, I'm not going to let you kill me, but I'm going to let you hit me so that you understand how to hit me correctly. And then, of course, I will school you a little bit, but not enough to not want you to get back on the floor. Because for me, empowering you is everything.
You touched on something, and I want to follow up on that because I think it's
Sure.
such an amazing point. And Jim Collins talks about this in the book Good to Great, and the legacy of a leader. To be a great leader, you surround yourself with great people, right? It's not the greatness of who you are; it's the greatness of the people around you.
Right.
And it's also the legacy that you leave. One of the things that Jim talks about towards the end of the book is that great CEO that made that company great.
Mm.
He wasn't great until he left. And what did the company do afterwards? That legacy. What's with your school and what you're doing with your coaching? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that legacy piece of who you are and what you're creating.
Mm. Incredible, because I actually do talk about legacy, and a lot of people think legacy it's what I want to leave to my grandchildren or my children. No, I don't want to just leave it to them. I want to teach them how to leave it for their generations on and on and on. So 500 years from now, I want them to use my name and say, because he did this, we have this. So to me, that's the legacy. And it doesn't have to be finances, right? It can be a way of thinking, a way of doing, of how to treat people, how to make this a better world. So legacy to me is more than finances. Don't get me wrong, finances don't hurt, right? So when we consider money is a great thing. But if you just hand over money to someone and they go and blow it, then what? There's no more legacy. Your legacy dies with them. What we need to do is teach them how. You can give them money, but teach them how to make it more, how to produce more, how to take that which we've given them and think of their their children, their grandchildren, and on and on and on. So that when you think about the Rockefellers, right, they've done something pretty incredible. You don't hear of them on social media, do you? Not really. But they're super wealthy. And it's because of the tightness in their family. And I think family and legacy definitely go hand in hand. It's the lessons we teach.
Uh, I'm interested to hear where you think that generational perspective comes from for you personally, because that could be something that you were raised with, with your parents, or you also talking martial arts. one, just the age of it is going to approach you, it's like reading the Iliad or anything. You're going to start to think in a bit more wider perspective on it. But also, when you get hit in the face, you tend to be more humble. Dad, I know rugby, special forces, you had those same kind of things where it's like when you get hit in the mouth enough, you're not cocky anymore. It's something that, needs to happen to some folks. So which one of those three, or what combination of those three do you think led to that generational perspective that you have so much wisdom about?
To be honest with you, it didn't come from my parents at all, right? I really did not grow up with my parents. So for me, it's been watching. I'm a people person. I love watching people. I love to see what people have done with their lives. And then if you take a look at two people who are 75 years old, what are they doing? What have they done? So sometimes we need to really take the perspective of other people and say, how can we either live up to that or don't do what they're doing, right? Because everybody in this world is going to teach you a lesson. You have to pick and choose the lessons you want to accept, right? The ones that make sense. And for me to think about legacy, it's been, I wish, here's a story. My great-great-grandfather lived to be 113 years old. And I'm like, darn, that is incredible. I said, but you know what? I'm going to beat him. I'm going to go way longer than him. And so one of the questions that I had is, wow, what did he eat? How did he function? What was his thoughts? I wish he would have written a diary. I wish he would have put something down on paper, but there's none of that. So I don't know how he lived to be that age, but I do know he did, right? And I can only, there's no documentation except for what my family has told me. Now, my dad died at 91, and the man, vibrant. 2 weeks before he died, he used to ride his bicycle everywhere. When you consider, and the way he lived, and the only reason he died is because he got pneumonia, and he went to the hospital. His wife took him to the hospital. By the way, I'm not saying this is the right thing, but the man, his wife was younger than me at 91. She was younger than me. Hello? So, vibrant man. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, right? But
you're saying he's got some energy, definitely.
Yeah. So what happened is he got pneumonia. She took him to the hospital, and at the hospital they said, "No, you're good. Go back home." And that's what happened. They didn't admit him. They didn't help him. They didn't take care of him, right? So could he still be alive today? We don't know, but it's possible. So the question that I always have is, how do I leave a legacy? Easy. I have to write my experiences so others can learn from my mistakes, and they can learn from my wins, and they can learn from my thought process. So for me, I'm a crazy journaling type of guy. I write in 4 books, sometimes 5. I'll write something down like chicken scratch really quick, and then I'll go back and I'll rewrite it, and then I'll think. Then on the 3rd one, I'll rewrite it, and I'll go, what was I thinking? I write more to it. Then I'll go back and I'll highlight all the important stuff, and I'll put that in another book. And so if I have no books published, but if I was to publish a book, I probably can easily publish 90, because that's how much I've written and have transcribed, right, from all my learnings. And a lot of people say to me, how do you know so much stuff? And it's from the first thing I told you. Mm-hmm. I observe. I'm a people person. I love watching people. When I was younger and I used to work in Manhattan, I used to sit by the library for lunch. If I wasn't working through lunch, if I got the chance to sit out there in the library, I would take like a sandwich, buy a sandwich really quick, sit on the stoops of the library by 40th Street, 40th and 5th. And I would sit there and just people watch and be amazed. And you can tell how people interact with one another. So I was not only looking at people, but I was looking at the interactions. Even if I could not hear their voices, I can see how they were treating one another by the way their bodies spoke. So that's how I do it.
When you write, because I'm just curious about this, when you write, do you physically like pen to paper write, or do you type?
I got the remarkable.
Old school.
Do you know why I got the remarkable too? Because I love pen to paper. Love it. There's not, yes, I do type, but there's not, I rather write than type. But I do type. I'm pretty fast at it. I'm good. I use all my digits, right? So, but for me,
not me.
get one finger. So for me, and the thing about typing, right? Even if you're using one finger at a time, you're thinking of the letters, right? It's not flowing. When you write, it flows. But here's the thing I learned a long time ago. When you write it on paper, and you're also writing it in your brain. So you're writing it twice. And so you can remember things better once you put pen to paper or pencil to paper.
Well, I'm a firm believer in that. And, that's one of the things I've always talked about is if you're going to do that sort of writing, capturing your thoughts, free thinking, I call it sometimes journaling, if you want to call it in a different sense, there's a difference between the muscle movement in your hand and creating that sensation of a lines turning into a representative letter that turn into a representative word that become a sentence that that eventually captures the thought. And there's so much more going on in our brain in that sense. And I learned this a long time ago because a buddy of mine is one of those typers. And I'll always remember stepping into his office. We were both still in special forces at the time on the staff. I remember stepping into his office one time and talking to him, and he continued to type whatever it was he was typing. Obviously, it didn't take a whole lot of thought what he was typing, because he was able to talk to me while he was typing. And that right there told me how different it is between the physical nature of writing something down and typing it into a computer. That it's just different. And there's been a lot of studies, and I can't quote any of them about having a muscle or anything like that. But you're 100% right. When you do that, it's going into your brain. And I just want to, I
want to add an interesting piece of perspective on that, because I do wonder how different those studies will look, not necessarily with my generation, but the generations, even more enveloped in technology. Because when I write, I don't remember things if I type them, but I can type so much more than I can write. When I'm writing out, like for books or anything, I get frustrated with how slow my pen is moving because I have the thoughts are moving too fast. And so I just think there's a funny counterbalance there, because it's like I can type faster. So it's like I can brain dump really well typing, but I don't remember shit.
Well, I want to know, since you have
Google. I'm going to interrupt you for a second, but now Google, on Google Docs, you can actually put the speak, and it actually, you speak and it writes it for you, right? If that's what you want. So think about the AI component of this whole thing. Take a look at Google Docs, and you just have to go like it'll. And the cool thing about it is, if you use it on your regular computer, like dictation, if you want to like pause or stop, and it stops it, right? But with Google Docs, what happens is you can pause, say whatever, and then it'll keep recording it, and it'll keep typing it for you. So it's pretty cool. Something to
All
look
right.
into.
Oh, I guess I talk fast enough, Dad. You'll say it. I was gonna say I talk fast enough. It'll be done. It'll be done today at that rate.
Yeah, right.
It'll capture you. Believe it or
check
not.
your mail,
Try
Cameron.
it.
I got to know, since you mentioned that technology, I got to know about the difference in feeling between a piece of paper and Remarkable. Because this is not a plug for the tool, folks, but I was really looking at it very seriously several months ago. And I said, nah, it won't replace. So now that I know that you have that, I'd love to hear, what's the feeling difference? What's it like?
What I like about it is it took away the 5 different books I had to write into. So it did that, because now I can go back, I can highlight, I can do things, I can change, I can move, I can create a new document from it. I can do all these things. But here's the cool thing. I can convert my handwriting to text. So now if I want to write you a letter or an email, I can actually write it out, and turn around and say, turn it to text, and then I can send it to you. I can also send you my notes. Now, can I do that if I wrote it on a piece of paper? No, I have to now go back into a computer, and I have to actually type it out and reread. And, so that's time consuming. So it saved me on a lot of time, and it actually feels good. In the beginning is a little bit of a turn, when you put it on, it, you can passcode it, you can do the whole thing. Like right now, I got to hit my passcode, so you can secure your stuff, but you can maneuver. See, that's my written stuff, right? But I can combine written with, if you see on top, typed. And I can go on here if I want to type something, and I can type it. So I can still use my fingers. I can highlight things. I can do calligraphy on it. I can draw something. And I don't know why I have an alarm going, but there it is. It's off now. But it's pretty cool. I mean, when we think about when we can replace, I have 5 journals. The other day, before I bought it, I literally had all my journals on the floor. And I was like, that's more than 5. Holy cow. And now what I have to do is, which one did I write this in? I have to go look for each one. But I'm a little crazy, because when I it doesn't matter if it's a supermarket, a card store, a bookstore, I'm always drawn to the aisle that has pen and paper. It's like, I'm like, oh, that's a good looking notebook. And oh, look, another pen. And I have a collection of pens. I have a collection of books. I have books I haven't even written in. I literally have about 30 books that are brand new, because every time I see a book, I'm like, I need that book. But so this will save me money in the long run, because now I don't have to go spending all that. But I do like the books still. I still like writing on paper. But this has really transformed.
I was going to say,
I highly recommend it.
Those are the collector's books. It's like that bottle of whiskey. You can't touch it. You can't write in that book. It's too valuable. You got to keep it just perfectly mint condition, right?
Yeah. But
I wanted to shift gears. There's a couple things that you've talked about that I think there's like some interesting balances that I would love to get into. One of them is when you talk about improvement. There's this kind of counterbalance in when you start talking about personal improvement, of this idea of trying to find things that you're not as good at, or find things that you can improve upon, finding these areas for growth. And in order to do that, you have to do a little bit of like measuring against yourself. And then the problem with that is that sometimes you can get so focused on that measurement of yourself where you can get really negative. Even though you're on this great journey, you're making progress, I'm not hitting my goals yet. And you can kind of fall into those negative traps there. So like, what's your thought process on balancing, I guess I would say balancing that ambition with the happiness along the way of not beating yourself up all the time?
You know, when I was younger, I used to beat myself up. And now what I do is I ask for advice. So I'll say, I've been doing this. What do you think? What are your thoughts? How am I doing? So if we don't ask someone, how am I doing? You think you're doing great, right? This is one of the things I teach my students, and whether it's my coaching client or a martial arts client or a fitness client, any type of person that wants to improve, I say to them, how do you know if you're any good? How do you know? If you're doing any type of performance, the best thing you could do is videotape yourself. Because we lie to ourselves constantly. I'll teach somebody a kick and they'll go, oh, my kick is great. I said, you got to turn your foot. You got to do this. You got to do that. No, I'm great. Really. So when they're not looking, I'm videotaping them. And I've done that hundreds and hundreds of times. And then I go, come over here. I want to show you something. They're like, oh, cool. I go, I got a video for you. Oh, I'm excited. And it's them. They're like, oh, you videotape me? I'm like, yeah, take a look. What do you think? And they're like, oh, I stink. I said, no, you don't stink. I said, you have to fix this, and the other, and then you'll do it the way you want to do it. But I just wanted to let you know that sometimes we think that we're doing a great job, but we're not processing the outcome. We only think we know what the outcome is. Who is processing the outcome? The other people watching us, the other people listening to us. So for me, communication is everything. Right there is communicating with yourself. So videotape is an important aspect. Asking people on how you're doing is the other important aspect. If you're by yourself, how do you know if you're doing good? You think you are, right? And Otis, you know this, you know, from your military record, if you're behind something and you're shooting at somebody, how do you know your body's not sticking out too far? Right? How do you think you're covered? Maybe you're not. Right? So maybe your buddy next to you go, hey, pull back a little bit. You're in the wrong spot, right? So we need other people to guide us. If we think we are everything, take a look in the mirror. You're almost nothing. We need to be great, but only with those who we surround ourselves with. They'll help us. They will guide us.
How about the other end of that spectrum, which is and I'm thinking to my rugby example because, you know, maybe I've knocked a few guys down, handful of notches this week in practice. But of that, here's the things that are wrong, but you're still good. You're still okay. You're still on the journey and keeping it positive there. Because I think that's another one of those traps. There's the ego trap on one end of the spectrum of I'm already great. I don't need to learn anything. And on the other end, there's that like negativity trap of I'm a piece of crap. Why am I trying? What's your I guess philosophy on that end of the spectrum?
Well, I'm hard on myself. I think I'm not good enough, and that's what keeps me going. If I'm not fast enough, how do I get faster? The minute I say I'm fast enough, that's when I got slow. The minute I think I'm too smart, that's the minute where I became the dummy in the room. I don't want to be in a room where I'm the smartest guy. And if that happens, I'm going to thank everybody for being there and I'm going to make an exit because I need to find another room. I need to find a room where people know more than me. And that's the only way to grow. And for you to say, I'm no good, I'm this and that, we all say it. We all have doubt, but it's what you do with the doubt. That's, I think, what changes who you are. The other thing is you have to consider, do you know what your purpose is? What's your why? Every day, you have to ask that question. Am I still on my purpose? Am I fulfilling my why? If this was the last day of me being in this world, did I complete my task? I don't want to go with any regrets.
Yeah, that's the way to think about it and the way to keep going in the direction. The other piece of that I always think is you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to look, and not only do you have to know what your purpose is and have clarity in that purpose, but you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, this thing over here that's a really shiny object, looks sexy and fun right now. Does that really fall into my purpose? Well, let me come up with the reasons why and try to convince yourself. I mean, yeah, I'm sure something like that is popped up in your sight picture, if you will, in recent time, because it happens with all of us, right? What's that shiny object that wants to distract us? How do you handle that when that that buddy of yours calls you up and say, hey, Rafael, let me tell you about this deal, man. It's freaking hot and I'm loving it and it's going to be great. You want in on it? How do you handle those things?
Well, one of the things was when I was younger, I used to take 2 trains and 3 buses to get to work. So my thought is, if I miss this bus, there's another one. If I miss this train, there's another one. If you have this incredible opportunity, and if the window is closing, if you don't act now, I said, well, you know what? If it's closing, but I'm not 1,000% ready, then let it close. There'll be another opportunity. And I told you, I'm an SEO guy. Search every opportunity, but not every opportunity is going to be the opportunity you need to jump on. That's where we make so many mistakes. So I was listening to a show and somebody said, yeah, you bought that TV for $4,000. What did that really cost you? They're like, oh, $4,000. Really? $4,000. That's what you think you're paying. But you're going to sit in front of that television for hours on end. And how much of your time are you wasting in front of that television? How much are you worth? How much is your time worth? So I don't subscribe to television. I have televisions, but guess what? I stream what I want when I want it, not when they demand it. So if you go on your regular networks, this show is at this time, you better log on. No, I'm busy at that time. But when I want to chill, I want to hang out, I want to be with my family, say, hey, let's watch this. Right now, believe it or not, my fiance and I, we love Shark Tank. We watch Shark Tank and we laugh. We go, oh, that was a good thought. And then we also are thinking, okay, which shark is going to bite? Right. So if you think about it, and because I own several businesses, I'm like, would that make sense for me? Right. Would that make it worth my while? Would I even invest? So, and then what advice would I give that person if I didn't? That's one of the things that if you look at Shark Tank, the beautiful thing about it is, yeah, they break on some people, but a lot of times they may not invest with them, but they give them advice that makes them propel. So you come, and one other thing I like about Shark Tank, if somebody didn't get a deal, several years later, they'll go back and they'll check on this person and they'll go, they never got a deal, but this is what they're doing today. And maybe they came in, they asked for $500,000 and no shark wanted to buy into it, but now they're making 4.6 million every year. And they say, hey, listen, the sharks did me a favor. I didn't give up any equity. So a lot of times are you swimming with the sharks? Are you swimming against the sharks? And do you know how to punch a shark in the nose when it's the right time?
Yeah.
I love that, and I was just gonna say, because I know you got one, Dad. I was just gonna add on to that, talking about opportunities. I always think it's an interesting thing of, Rafael, you mentioned the idea of like, well, here's this golden opportunity, and then that door closes, and it's like just looking for those next ones. I think one of the greatest realizations I've had is how much, that phrase of, oh, I'm going to butcher it now, but luck is when opportunity meets preparation. I think I got that right, or mixed some words around a little bit there. But the idea that when you have those opportunities in front of you, it's because you're doing things in your life to create those opportunities. I had the epiphany I was alluding to was, I remember I looked back on my late years in college and how I was so entrepreneurial. I had all these business ideas. They used to come to me so easy. And I was like, yeah, because I was in 5 business classes. I was listening to Freakonomics to and from class every single day. I was reading Endurance. I was reading like all these different, and it's like, yeah, well, no wonder I was getting all these ideas. I was putting myself in that mindset constantly. Mm-hmm. So whatever the mindset is that got you that first opportunity, you got to keep that going so you can keep getting those other opportunities down the road.
Yeah, I love Freakonomics. Oh my God, that was incredible.
It is. There's so many aspects of that book and the philosophy of it when you think about it, how we look at things differently, and then when you put the numbers to it and you see the reality of it and how different it is.
And Dubner was a people watcher also. We were talking about people watching earlier. That's one of the things he talks about. His dad called it the power of observation, I think was the game they played as a kid. Yeah. Of just like, how many things can you observe sitting here watching this crowd? So another strike of people watching. I know we're not at what did I learn yet, but that's one of those things. I feel like people watching tends to be kind of negative, but it's really not when you're watching for the right things, I guess.
Well, you have to be a people watcher. Guess what? We live in a world full of people. If you're not into people watching, what are you doing? Are you going like this? Oh, I see nothing. No, you need to. I think we learn from others. We learn from what they do right and what they do wrong. But that doesn't mean we should judge them. If somebody does something wrong, who am I? I'm nobody to judge you, right? I believe in God. I pray every day. So how can I judge you? Just like I don't believe you can judge me. You can have opinions about me, opinions about my actions, but you're not my ultimate judge, right? Even a judge sitting on a bench in a courtroom truly is not a judge of you. I mean, you commit a crime, yeah, you're going to go to jail, but the ultimate price that you're paying is your freedom, right? Do you want to be in that position? Your actions today make your tomorrows brighter or darker. How do you want to act today? Think about your actions, your habits. Those tie together.
That's great. And you remind me of a Marcus Aurelius quote of I wasn't a good person today, but that's okay. I can be one tomorrow. I can change and be one tomorrow. And it seems, you throw it out there. It seems very simple and it's somewhat profound, but it's not an easy thing either, because you have to decide. You have to say that I wasn't. Back to what we started the show with, right? Our compounding interest of making ourselves just a little bit better every day. And some days you don't. That happens, right? But if you put forth the effort and decide that tomorrow I will be a better person, think about that compounding interest every time. Yeah, it's not something that holds you back. It's not something that keeps you. It's not a label. Because you were crap today, if you will, because you don't have to be crap tomorrow, to put it simply.
Right. That's right. One of the things that people always say, I'm going to go on a diet next month, Monday, or I have an event coming up in 3 weeks. I need to lose 30 pounds. What they're doing is they're going for short-term goals. So when you think about your life, Your life should not be short term. Every action you take in your life should be so that you can have an amazing life. Don't allow other people to create your life for you. You have to take the actions every single day.
Awesome. Well, and this is always so much fun. And for those of you who don't know, Rafael and I've hung out. We've pretty much created an entire season of Otis and Rafael hanging out now as we create the cliffhanger with the 10X Your Team for the next season. So you folks, if you haven't checked out, and I'm getting all out of order, but that's okay. I'm hosting the show, so I can do what I want to, right? Plug in your shows, folks. Check it out. Rafael has some great shows, especially the ones that contain Otis in the title. But he also has some other great ones
Those
too.
are the best
some other
ones,
friends
man.
of mine, that I love. Yeah, that's right.
You know who has not been on my show? Otis, you know who hasn't been on my show?
That other guy.
That other guy wearing a green shirt. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Camden, you need to come on,
That's
big
right.
guy.
I need to.
There's part 3.
I will. There we go. We'll do the continuation of the season. What I'm going to say I learned today is the whole. We dove into some technology that I never thought we would have, but the fact that technology can be acceptable and we can still get that similar feeling with the tool that you're using, the Remarkable, which I found really interesting and fascinating because, like I said, I had explored that, and then I was like, well, what if I don't like the way it feels? Well, now that I've talked with you and the efficiency that it creates, I'm thinking maybe I needed to look back into that. Yeah, Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
I did have written down the compound interest on self-improvement, but you already kind of used that one. And I already shot myself in the foot by using my people watching on earlier. But the other thing I learned today, because it was such so much to learn in this episode, was talking about the writing and the typing and all that kind of stuff. Just has me thinking about how different a lot of those studies are going to look down the road in just 10 years or so. We talk about the bias of behavioral science towards like college age students and how you get these weird studies that don't really necessarily fit with stuff. Well, it's like, shoot, you got something 40 years ago talking about typing. That's very different than somebody who's growing up, 12-year-old right now who grew up typing their entire life. So just an interesting thing to think about as those studies change, as we get more data.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Rafael, man, what'd you learn?
Wow. It's sometimes it's not about learning. Sometimes it's about renewing. So I kind of learned and renewed that connections are everything, right? So our connection, the fact that now I get to see Camden and speak with him, and we kind of had a little bit of connection before, but now it's getting deeper. And I think that one of the things that we should all take away from this show is that we connected on a deeper level, and I've gotten to know you. You've gotten to know me a little bit. You've been on my shows. Thank you for allowing me to come on your show and share what little knowledge I have. And I think that learning is the key ingredient to everything. Continue to learn. That's my biggest takeaway from today is continue to learn. I taught Tai Chi in the park. My oldest member, I had several of them actually. They were 102 years old. Some were younger, like 98, 95, 96, 92. But the cool thing about these gentlemen and these young ladies, I call them young because age is a number. The way they acted out in the park, they would rush me at the end and ask me 1,000 questions. So the inquisitive mind did not give up with their age. They were still teenagers to me, and they were vibrant and beautiful. So I learned from you guys that we need to continue to learn, and you're not the only person in the room, even if you're alone.
Awesome. Rafael, how do folks find you, get in contact with you, see what y'all have happening next?
Well, thank you for that. I definitely, if you go to Sifu Rafael G on Facebook, I'm there. And Instagram by Fitness by Rafael. I've posted hundreds and hundreds, over 700. And, well, that was because I did them consecutively, 730 consecutive workout videos. But I've posted way more than that throughout my years. And for me, it's about impacting somebody. So if you come on to my thing, it's not about, hey, let me sell you this, right? Don't get me wrong, I do like to sell, but I rather impact you first, make sure that you even want to resonate and be with me. The other thing I want to share with you guys is I'm starting a communication center here in New York, and I'm doing it online too. We have which you both are invited to come to New York if you want. And I'm having a launch party on April 19th, which is a Friday evening. We're going to have cocktails and all this fun stuff. So for me, communication is everything. And the fact that you talked about technology, that's how we're communicating today, and we're connecting. Because you guys are on Riverside, and without this platform, we'd just probably be on the phone, right? That's technology too. But it's getting a little outdated when we could communicate and we can see each other, right? It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Great, man. Hey, it is always a pleasure to hang out with you, my friend. We have had some great conversations, and I look forward to many, many more to come in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Sifu Rafael, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes is available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again. We'll see y'all next time.